Welcome to Get Up in the Yule, old-time music with Cameron DeWhitt and Friends. This week's friends are Rob McMacon and Jason Cade of Hog-Eyed Man. We recorded this a couple weeks ago over Zoom because they live in Georgia and I don't. We tried to make this happen last year, so I decided to do just one more remotely recorded episode, which turns out is pretty fun when I don't have to do it every week. Thank you, vaccines. If you're not already watching this, I made a full video version of this episode. It's up on Get Up in the Cool's Facebook page and my personal YouTube and Instagram accounts. And if you're watching this and you're not subscribed to the Get Up in the Cool podcast, just get on your favorite podcast app and subscribe there. Stick around afterwards and I'll tell you how to keep up with Hog-Eyed Man. Also, I put this week's Patreon bonus track at the very end after the outro as a Christmas gift. Merry Christmas. But first, here's our little holiday party and jam, and because it's a remotely recorded episode, it is filled with the screams of my children. Enjoy. Rob McMacon and Jason Cade, a.k.a. Hog-Eyed Man. Welcome to Get Up in the Cool.
Hey, Cameron. Thanks for having us.
Good to see you again, Cameron.
You posted a video of, I believe it was these two tunes, like a couple years ago, in 2019, maybe? And
maybe.
It was then or the year before. I think that's right. I think it was 2019. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I immediately went to my banjo and tried to figure out what other carols could be translated to fiddle tunes. And yeah, it's a lot of them kind of they make sense, but you had some extra little things that you added to it to make it feel more old time, which I really appreciated, like taking a beat out, adding a beat in. I think you take a beat out of Joy to the World.
I think
one of the repeats.
Yeah, that's we've now, because we've done it for a couple years. I kind of don't remember what we did with it exactly.
Yeah, we took a beat out.
Yeah,
in between the Mm-hmm.
It's become the new sort of main version for you, I guess.
yeah,
good. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's another point. Like, I don't know you two very well. Rob, I've never met you before. So, Jason, welcome back to the show. Rob, thanks for being on. I'm not familiar with either of your relationships to Christmas. I don't know if you're Christmas celebrators. if that video was just like a kind of like a cynical cash-in, or if it meant something to you, or somewhere in between.
It was a real tree behind us. If you look carefully, there's a real
that was in Rob's house.
Tree.
That video.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll start. Well, for one thing, I really love carols. Like, I love singing them. I like hearing them, and I especially like the super old ones. And a really amazing thing about that, the first one we did in that melody, the Holly and the Ivy, is that Cecil Sharp collected that, like the great collector who also came through Appalachia.
Huh.
And he collected it like just a few years before he came through Madison County, which is the neighboring county from where I grew up. And he recorded like Mitch Wallen, who's Byard Ray's great uncle. He recorded the Wallens, he recorded the Rays, he recorded like, the Ramseys, like a bunch of these families that are just like known as the traditional ballad singers and fiddle players and banjo players from Madison County.
Yeah.
And I just think it's amazing that he was like, found the Holly and the Ivy tune. I should be clear, like the tune is older than that, but the melody that everybody plays now and associates with the Holly and the Ivy, he got in 1909 or something like that.
Cool. I had no idea. Yeah.
I think we'll probably play some music from that county a little bit later in the podcast. But so to me, they're kind of like fiddle tunes. They work really well as fiddle tunes, and they're from back in time, but they're kind of still relevant. You can still make them fun, and that's I think that's the biggest draw for me. It's not so much that they're attached to Christmas, but I'm not a Grinch. I'm not anti-Grinch at Christmas necessarily.
How many sizes? What size is your heart? Each of you. When Cecil Sharp collected Holly and the Ivy, was it as? I haven't heard it that much. It hasn't made its way to like the shopping malls necessarily. It's not like
Burl Lives did not cover it.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Is it like a multiple verse Christmas carol? Is it a sung carol, or is it an instrumental melody?
Yeah, it's a sung carol. And I guess the words, I think, are the words and the concept of the Holly and the Ivy are like really old. I think it's Welsh, maybe. Actually, maybe that's where he collected it. He might have collected it in Wales. I'm sorry, I can't remember if it's Wales or England. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I think it definitely has words. But you're right. It's kind of like it's one of the lesser known like B-side rarities. It's like if you're into deep cut carols, it's one of the best ones.
That might be the parenthetical like title for this episode.
Yeah,
Deep cut carols. Very good. Yeah. I guess I always kind of forget that this is a lot of this stuff is trad music. I don't necessarily hear a lot of it in the wild during this time of year, like the cooler stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But Joy to the World is old too. I mean, it's just as old or older. These are really old melodies.
Yeah. I guess that one's been a little bit more appropriated than Holly and the Ivy, but
yeah.
Let's play another tune that I've totally already overdubbed onto your version.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Oh,
no,
you will.
That's this next week. Yeah.
Okay.
Peek behind the curtain. We're doing this all out of order. Let's play another tune. What do you want to play next?
Were we going to do the Marcus Martin set?
Yeah.
But
great.
I do think you know this one, right? Like you I know you played the jig already.
Yeah,
right?
I did.
Yeah.
When you posted the Marcus Martin jig, I was immediately obsessed because I'm not exposed to that much old time canon jiggery.
I was just about to say jiggery, but you beat me to it.
It seemed like the right thing to say. Yeah, I haven't heard much. Most of the jigs that I'm not even that familiar with them, but are like northern tunes. It was really exciting to hear, and it's a weird jig.
Yeah,
and it's only one part.
I think it probably was a song.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's his instrumental version of a song. On the recording that we learned it from him, you can't make out what he says the name is. He says something, I think, but it's impossible to make out what he said.
Yeah, isn't it listed as like Untitled Jig number 1 or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't think that's what he said, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, I don't know why jigs kind of like went extinct in old time music. Just as it's just the 4/4 festival jams took over. But if you go to any source fiddler, they've got lots of jigs in their repertoire. I mean, somebody's got a version of the Irish Washwoman almost always.
Yeah.
And, a handful of others that were also, recorded by whoever they're...
A lot more waltzes, too.
Yeah.
Than you hear.
That's true. Yeah. But waltzes are, I would say are not extinct.
Yeah, they're not.
Like every at a dance, right. Like you're going to play a waltz or something. But the jigs, I guess it's in part because you can't. There's no backbeat in them. Mm-hmm. There's like maybe it also has to do with the dancing too. Like people don't dance jigs. Mm-hmm. In terms of like old Appalachian flat footing.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see if there's any footage of old buck dancing jigs.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah. It's so funny because like the idea of dancing a jig is a commonly understood idea. I don't think anyone, or I don't think a typical the lay person would know what that means to dance a jig, but they just sort of like imagine an old man kind of like wiggling around.
Right.
But yeah, like the jigs. I wonder if it's just because of the amount of the dominance of clawhammer banjo players, and if that has something to do with it, it's just like not as viable in festival or jam settings, the jig, because they're so goddamn difficult to clawhammer.
Yeah, they don't work that well on a clawhammer. I mean, someone like you can figure it out, but like for the average player like me, it's just like it's not worth the effort to figure out the patterns that can kind of make it work in a clawhammer style.
Which is why the next tune is going to open with a 2-minute clawhammer jig solo, and then segue into our slower jig.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not sure if what I'm about to do is necessarily worth the effort objectively, but it is fun.
Yeah.
So we do that. Which we got, we've talked about, we got that from Marcus Martin, and then another.
It's Untitled, so we'll assume that it's a Christmas. We'll assume that he said something Yuletide.
It would have been played at Christmas, let's say.
Sure.
and then we picked Snowbird, because it's got the word snow in it.
That's
perfect.
But that's of course like a Cherokee community in North Carolina, which is
Snowbird. Is a Cherokee? I didn't know that was a community.
Yeah, it goes all the way. It was a community that, if you just look on, websites made by Cherokee from that area, they go all the way over to northern South Carolina, but all the way up to Robbinsville, North Carolina. And but now there's a cluster of people that are in what's called Snowbird Community up near Fontana, Robbinsville.
I've never been there.
I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
And there's a cultural arts center, and the alphabets is used on a lot of the signage around there. There's like a lot of people that still up there call themselves Snowbird and Cherokee.
Huh.
And there's like
as an ethnic identity.
Oh yeah,
Snowbird.
Well, no, I think it's Cherokee, but Snowbird is like he said, the community.
Right.
It used to be larger. It used to go as far as the last time I looked. It was North Carolina down to across northeastern Georgia into South Carolina, and people that were from that area eventually settled up in Snowbird Community, and that was quite a while. That was in the early 1800s.
It's reportedly
Chief Jim Scott and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Cherokee who basically hid out and avoided being driven west on the Trail of Tears, and the community was called or became called Snowbird. That they were able to basically hide out and stay in the mountains there.
This tune just gained so much weight. I thought it was literally just about a bird. Is it also about a bird?
Well, there's something weird about that too, right? Like the duty, is that the word?
D-U-D-I, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's their word for eagle.
Right? Oh, is it eagle?
I think it's actually their word for eagle, but they called it the snowbird. We're probably butchering this history. Yeah. We're not,
But yeah, Doo-Dee was, I remember, because we were researching it for the album and trying to figure out some, anyway. But Doo-Dee was a word for some kind of bird, and that was the word for eagle when we looked it up. Right? Yeah.
But the tune's an awesome Asheville tune. I mean, it, besides this history and like being associated with that community and the Cherokee fiddler Gino Leska, like it was played by Marcus Martin, it was played by Manco Sneed.
Yeah.
It was played in North Georgia by other people, and I guess maybe it was all traced to J.D. Harris from Tennessee. But it's just a funky tune, It's just fun to kind of imagine that like it was just a popular tune like way back in time, just like it is now. I don't know. I think it's a great tune.
Yeah. Well, thanks for breaking that down. And I totally accept the stretch, the surface level stretch to include it in the Christmas episode. And I think it should be canonized in breaking up Christmas jams. All right, let's play it.
Okay.
All right.
That was fun playing that tune, Cameron.
It sure was in the past. Fun playing that tune together.
In the future.
In the future. 4-dimensional fun. Yeah, what a cool tune. I love G-modal tunes because they won't commit to playing F sharps or F naturals. I think the one you just played if I remember right.
Yes.
Yeah, the one we just played.
Yes.
If I remember right from a couple seconds ago, it's the one that has doesn't it have like high F sharps and low F naturals?
Yeah.
And Rob, you're playing a combination of F or gesturing at F flat 7 chords, and or playing D chords.
I don't know what that is, but yes,
really? Sure, yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that seems to be pretty common. I don't know why that is, or if that lays on the fiddle in a particularly nice way, but I think that sound is so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good question. I don't know. So it's really common to hear, like, in modal tunes, to hear that F sharp that's played on the E string. I'm sorry, the F, when it's played on the E string, as more like an F sharp or something in between.
Sure.
And when it's on the D string, it could be like a completely just an F natural. I think it in part it's just because it's a challenging finger reach to get your first finger back on the E string. So it could be that's one of the reasons that aesthetic developed, you know. But there's a lot of, I mean, you know this already, but like there's a lot of sort of microtone approaches on the fiddle. I mean, without having frets, like you can put the note wherever you want. I love to hear like sharp notes sometimes.
Yeah.
The high B that's on the E string is often flat, you know, partly I think for sort of similar reasons. Like I have a really short pinky, and so for me, like it's just more comfortable to not reach all the way up to put the B note. I mean, I can do it, but it's just more comfortable not to do it, you know.
And it's just sort of flavor anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was struck by I can't go back to hear everybody playing it, but I was struck by how deliberately that was articulated by both Manco Sneed and Marcus Martin in just the contrast between the A and the B section, where it's not, there is a microtonal thing, there's some vagueness, but it's not vague that there's a F sharp in the B section.
Right.
And so, but it's quite clear that it's not the same note in the A section. So, you know, I like that I like that those versions are both solo fiddle. But I also would be curious to hear, some accompaniment, along with, from that era. And I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah. Like what would, Marcus Martin's, if he were recorded with a guitarist playing that tune, what would they play?
Yeah, or a banjo player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a guitar player, I just find that often the guitar players, the fiddle players that are these incredible fiddle players, I know there's great guitar players too, but a lot of these fiddle players that I've gotten to hear they'll just go along with it. They're like, yeah, whatever, I'll just keep playing my tune. It doesn't matter what the guitarist is doing. They're not going to change too much what they're doing, both either rhythmically or harmonically, from what I've heard. But it would be neat to hear somebody playing an instrument that had a little, I don't know, like they could dodge a little bit, like on a banjo or ukulele or something like that.
Or dulcimer, maybe.
Or dulcimer.
or a dulcimer, maybe.
Yeah, there's not as much as I'd like to hear of what dulcimer would do. I mean, pretty much we're limited though. We'd just be doing F sharp. That'd be that.
Are there any like old recordings with dulcimer as accompaniment? Like
as
to
accompaniment?
A fiddle?
Not much.
It's not much, right?
Not much. There's solo.
Yeah.
There's a good amount of solo.
No, I know that. Yeah, but like mostly with the noter.
Right.
And
And yeah, I mean, I remember in college finding a really old, black and white cover record that I can't remember what it was called, but it was something. It wasn't Smithsonian either. It wasn't Folkways. I don't know what it was, but I remember it being very odd. It almost looked like a church album that was produced by one manufacturer, and it was like 100 albums kind of thing. And it was Appalachian music, and there are 3 noter Appalachian tunes on it, and they were really fast, like Amazing Grace, super fast. And it was just all the same note, like A, and going up and down really fast. And when I figured out halfway through what they were doing, and I already had a dulcimer, I was like, oh, that's awesome, that's so cool. And then later tried to find more stuff. And of course, this was the 90s that I was looking for stuff. And most of what I found would have been stuff from the 70s, 60s. It was really hard to find. So then I just started listening to just fiddle,
right,
playing along with that stuff. And I kind of lost the train of finding. I kind of gave up on finding fiddle dulcimer duets or even fiddle guitar dulcimer, and just didn't hear it. So
yeah, I'm mostly familiar with lap dulcimer as a
solo.
I guess as a folk revival instrument, but I know that people had and played them. But I guess for whatever reason in the field recording or like the folk music industry pre revival, it was just like under prioritized. As far as I know, there's not a slippery hill of dulcimer.
Right, but Alan Lomax had some good stuff with singers and solo stuff that he recorded, but I couldn't name any of those people right now. It was all like one-off tunes that were on a sampler.
Who did you learn from? How did you learn? Like, why do you not use a noter?
Can you explain this? I'm unfamiliar with this term.
Noters?
Yeah,
Noter?
what's that?
It's like let me grab my dulcimer. So like, as you know, you've got all the notes. You don't have all the notes. You just have a diatonic, like that.
Yeah.
It actually has what you call the F or the F, the flat and the major 7 on this one, but traditionally they just have the flat 7.
Really? Just the flat 7 traditionally. Interesting.
And that's weird. It's because usually it's 4th. It's getting too nerdy, but
no.
Usually usually the middle string.
Yeah.
Is actually, let's just say we're in D right now. This would be D, G, D. So the middle note is actually the tonic.
That would make sense why the frets would be set up that way. So then it would be a major scale.
Right. That's what you would have.
Yeah.
But if I'm playing that's all you need to know.
Well, you still describe noter, though.
Yeah, so the noter is, my thumbnail is going to act as a noter, but a pencil could act as a noter. You just like literally hold a pencil down or a peg, like a peg you'd put in here, and just go up and down. Do you have a pencil or anything?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a slide, like playing slide
like a beer bottle on a guitar.
Yeah, but it's actually kind of different because it's got a little bit of a what's the word?
Does this work?
Yeah. So here's a pen, like actual. This is my Bic round stick.
Gear talk. This is great.
That's right. So, so if I was going to do like, I'm just pushing down on it. Like that.
Yeah. Thanks for including another Christmas tune in there. That's perfect.
And actually, a lot of dulcimers that I've seen, because I've had over the years people that hang these on their wall and don't ever play them, because they're kind of artifacts of the past. People have brought them to me, and I've accepted most of them, but then I've given them to other people or whatever. A lot of them only have the frets on the top because they don't ever fret anything else.
They don't go all the way. They don't go past like the first octave or whatever.
No, they don't. The fret doesn't go all the way across.
Oh, I didn't understand. When you said the top, I didn't know which direction.
Sorry, yeah. So they just, because they only are fretting this right here. So you have a constant drum.
Right.
Because
you're not doing these like
these
like spider shapes.
Right. You're not doing anything with you're just using that note, and so then you commit to that, and that's really like, Don Petty, who's just wonderful, obviously, his playing, he's pretty faithful to trying to stick to the upper string, and really match all the articulation of the fiddle, or just complement it by just playing on the top string. Yeah. And it's haunting. It's a haunting sound. It emphasizes the double stops of the fiddle and brings out the mystery, because you're essentially, people often say, well, you're not playing chords, but actually what you're doing is you're playing all kinds of crazy chords.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
If you wrote out what's happening by just playing a G and a D beneath all these other notes, there's a lot of really crazy chords you're playing.
Yeah. I have a similar experience playing the banjo.
Yeah, exactly. It's very similar.
But it's like the banjo, and like, you know, there's all these different tunings, but the door's even further wide open. You know, like we spend a fair amount of time, like as a duo with Rob, just trying to figure out like the right combination of tuning and like where to capo it and which of his dulcimers to use. Yeah. And things like that. So and then we have to remember them.
Yeah, we've done that a lot. We showed up in the studio with the money going out the door. And we're like, I swear, I think I capoed this one and had it in C, F, C, or was it B flat? Like, I don't know. Oh, try that. And then he's like, no. And like, he'll remember something that I forgot.
Yeah. To like do some long division on a pad and paper, like pad of paper. Like to
no kidding. Yeah. And then when we recorded with Bragger out in California last June, we I had to think about string gauges. Mm-hmm. You know, we're heading out there.
We played down in B.
So I had to like read like, okay, let's play these 6 tunes first, because I got to put on these heavier strings for these other tunes.
Yeah. And I guess you weren't like checking a bunch of dulcimers like on the plane.
Yeah. If we were recording here, it wouldn't have been an issue, but yeah. When you show up with a big rifle case with a dulcimer in it at the airport, you know, they'll let one through, but they won't let 2 through.
Yeah.
But the upshot of part of this is that, like, for certain tunes, like if I think of the tune or we say the tune, or we're gonna play the tune, like the first thing that comes to my mind is CFC Capo 1. It's just like Rob's dulcimer setup.
It's like, oh, you can also do that tune. Yeah. He sees it on the set list. Like, the set list doesn't have anything except for my tuning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen fiddlers start, like, fiddlers at jams and festivals have, you know, different levels of understanding of what the hell the banjo player needs in order, like, I want to play this tune next. Yeah. How much time would that take? Like, how long would I have to wait? Is it worth it? You know, different fiddlers have like developed that kind of intuition around banjo players, or are willfully obtuse. They refuse to understand. Yeah. And I appreciate that in your duo, Jason, you've had to adapt for the specific constraints of the dulcimer. You obviously think it's worth it, and I profoundly agree. It sounds so good.
Yeah, well, I mean, so like, unlike those kinds of jams, you know, that you'll have at Clifftop where everybody plays in like the key of A for 1 hour and then moves to the key of D for the next hour. Because Rob plays so many different instruments, and for our shows usually would have more than one dulcimer, like we actually change keys if possible, like every tune, just to, you know, for purposes of the show. And even when we play together for fun, it's sort of mostly like that. Like we and a lot of that's Rob's influence too. Like, I think Rob has a
yes, that's true,
a good sense as kind of a little bit more of an outsider to old time music, of like what makes a good show for people who are not really into old time music. Or only into old time music, and so, you know, just in terms of like variety of keys and variety of tunes and things. I mean, it's stuff that I feel like I am sensitive to too, but Rob is more, you know, just more better at.
There you go.
Yeah, Rob, Jason has told me that you have an interesting perspective on the world of old time music.
You're the first person to tell me that Jason has told me that,
and that I should talk to you about that. And, you know, maybe that would be even worth like a whole other interview sometime when we're both in the same city. But
it might take that long to find out what that perspective is.
No, come on.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I would imagine that maybe would you say that you have a primary instrument? Like, is like dulcimer like your
it's funny you say that. Jason basically asked me that when we were trying to decide what kind of music we were going to play together, because we were at this house in Athens where Jason moved to directly from New York, and it was clear that I loved playing with him. We felt like we could do a lot of things together, and we had previously done some playing together in a different project, like many years before that, and but didn't know each other very well. And I was like, what do you want to do? Like, let's do something, because we both have small kids. We can't realistically do much in terms of traveling, but what do you want to play? And he was like, well, I remember one of his follow-up questions. We were walking down Boulevard where I live. Yeah. He was like, what's your main instrument? Like, what do you want to play? Because he'd heard me play everything, but he just didn't know what I considered it. Yeah. And I was like, honestly, definitely guitar, like 100%. Electric guitar, no doubt. However, in terms of what I can offer, the musical canon of the world and him, I would say definitely dulcimer. Yeah. So, and then he was like, okay, cool. And then that was kind of it. And it wasn't like we then started just playing that. He just wanted to know. And it helped me clarify, like, in this context, what I was going to do. Because, I mean, when we play with Beverly Smith, a guitar player and singer and fiddle player and all that, I completely 100% recognize what she intuitively wants to do on guitar. That is wonderful. And I'm like, wow, that's I have a lot to learn. And when it comes to dulcimer, I know there's a lot of great dulcimer players out there, but for playing this kind of music, I definitely feel like I'm discovering it completely on my own. And I don't think that's being irreverent. I just feel like anybody that has discovered how to play dulcimer with this kind of music has essentially discovered it on their own.
Yeah, there's not exactly a template or a code to switch to in a jam,
But it's really I more feel like when Jason comes up with tunes that he's interested in doing for kind of our next because you can imagine it's just two of us, so we actually do amass like a big list of tunes that we're familiar with playing, and I guess it's kind of like having an old time jam in your town where you're like, oh, these are the tunes people play, but it's quite focused because I know what tunes he wants to play with me, and so we have all these tunes, and then right when I hear them, he's kind of open to sending me 20 tunes or playing 20 tunes for me, and me saying like, I like all 20 of these or I like 2 of these. He's like, whatever, because he's just going to keep playing tunes, but if I like something,
can't help himself.
So, but if I like something and I say, can you play me some of those sources, or maybe he just sends me sources. Like he'll sometimes say like, I'm interested in this tune, and I'll come at it from a different perspective. But one of the first things I'll do once we get together, of course, is just ask him like, what do you hear on this? What do you hear? And usually he says, I don't know. What do you hear? And I'm like, let me try dulcimer. And he's usually like, that sounds cool. Yeah. And then if it doesn't feel great, well, we basically just have a dialogue after that. And it's like, I'd like to actually try this in a different key on ukulele, because I want it to drive or whatever. Yeah. But I feel like the fiddle, that's the thing, is I feel like the fiddle tunes are like, they're really, it's a cliche, but they're diamonds in the rough. And you just basically, you try to bring them out and then like make them live. And that's all Jason's job. But I can tell him how I hear it differently, and it can change the way he's interpreting it. But then I just want to set it. I just want to help set it so that what he's doing, he can be more free. And some of the original idiosyncrasies of the tune can come out because of what I put beneath it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. It almost reminds me of, I wish I remembered his name. He's a Northern Washington State old-time musician that I met once at a jam at someone's house randomly. But he was saying that his whole job is making like pedestals for sculptures at museums.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole other, like, I guess it's technically more craft than art, but arguably it's like equally important, because it's like, we want to be able to see this sculpture, or I think maybe he also did frame, and also like, it's like the art itself is obviously important, but it's like, how are we going to present it, and what is around it? And I think that's an interesting posture to have towards the music. And I love the idea of that informing how Jason will continue to, like, you know, interpret the tunes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll just say one more thing, just to say how I do that metaphor works for me, is that the picture of the tunes are very linear, and they're very curvilinear. They're very curvy. Sure. And a lot of the original recordings that we hear, the oldest recordings we hear, are surprisingly not boxy, not mathematical. Yeah. And so there's all this expression that varies. It flows like this way, and it bounces in different ways. And so instead of me holding up this object, right, it's like figuring out how can I keep that flowing and keep it bouncing along, and allow him to bounce. Yeah. In a way that the fiddle players would have done it by themselves. Like they're bouncing off of, they could take their time, but they also want to do it that way. It's not like they're like, oh, I just can't seem to play on N4, so I'm going to add a beat here, but not there. It's really like how they're feeling playing it. It is 1,000% what they wanted to do for a lot of these fiddle players, regardless of how old they were. Right. And so if we are excited by one of those versions, then the worst thing I could do would be to box it into something less interesting. Sure. And the best thing I could do would be to allow him to feel what it's like to be in that frame of mind. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's play another. Play another tune, either old time Dulcimer tune, since we've or talked Christmas about that. Or combination. Yeah, let's definitely do a Dulcimer one. I mean, should we do that? Lullay, or whatever it's called. Yeah, sure. Let's do that one. So Rob will do this. Will be a good little solo Dulcimer moment for this tune that you guys can remember. But you and I both heard it when we were kids. I guess at some point. My mom used to sing this as a lullaby for sure. Not all the time, but it was like this and Pretty Little Horses were two that I liked a lot because they had that interesting thing. Did she sing all the verses? This song is intense. We're going to do it instrumentally, but... I don't know if she sang all the verses, but she sang enough where it was like a full lullaby. If I remember right, it's a song about, like, Herod's, like, you know, genocide. Oh, like pre-Jesus. If I knew there was blood. I knew there was blood in it. And actually, I remember her saying it's not really, she said something like, no, I don't know. I remember her associating it with Easter, and I was like, I was dubious. But I don't remember Herod's name in it, but I should have looked it up before I learned. We literally, right now, when we're about to play this, just came up with the idea definitely like a minute before we recorded it. Yeah. I think it flows really nicely because you're going to do it with, is it the Byard Ray Polly Put the Kettle On? Yeah. I haven't played that one before. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm sure you'll pick it up. It's a little different. It is. Marcus Martin. Yeah. I think we probably talked about it last time I was on the show. So I'll give the shortest possible version. But basically, Byard Ray could not learn it properly from Manco Sneed or Marcus. And Martin. How would you? He's just gonna say it. And so what he actually came up with is just as good, if not better, as the version they played, but definitely a little bit different. And there's a whole controversy out there about somebody calling it Polly's Mountain Kettle or Bard's Mountain Kettle or something like that. But basically, it's the same tune that he. Believe me, Cameron, you live on the internet. You live on the internet too. There's a controversy. If there's a disagreement, there's a controversy. So yeah, we'll play that after, and we've been playing that for years. And actually, we tried to record this on I think for maybe our very first CD together. Yeah. It's on our website. Yeah, Volume 1, Hog-Eyed Man Volume 1. Hog-Eyed Man 1, and it's on. You can hear the version that we tried for that on our website. And then later Rob figured out a different tuning, which happened to be CFC Capo 1. Oh yeah.
It's apparently the sexiest one for Jason.
Works much better, but he's not going to play that in that tuning.
Right.
He's going to go back to the same tuning that he used that we rejected for Hog-Eyed Man 1 and see if it works with you, Cameron.
That's right.
Great. Can't wait. And I guess when you're saying Capo 1, it would be bringing it up to
so
GD.
DGD, but then think
DGD.
about it. You're in Aeoli, or you're in Dorian. That makes sense?
No.
Doesn't matter. You're starting
mode.
You're starting from, instead of do re mi, you're starting from re.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that would make sense for, I guess for this version, because unlike the Marcus Martin, I don't know what the hell Mako Sneed is doing on this source, but the Marcus Martin one, he has a real sort of flirty back and forth.
Oh, Bard Race is even more flirty.
You think so?
Yeah. It's da 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 da.
It's cool. You don't need all those notes though on the banjo.
No, you don't.
I'll see which ones I can grab.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, let's do it. So that was fun.
That was really fun, Cameron.
That was great. What just happened in real time.
And I wanted to say, like, you know, when Rob was talking before about the way he plays different instruments with me and kind of like how he supports the music, like the way that I play the fiddle tune really changes a lot depending on which instrument Rob is using.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's sort of obvious in some ways, but like if he's playing guitar and you know, he's just like has big chords going behind it, then I will tend to probably like do melodic variations that I wouldn't do otherwise. Whereas when he's playing dulcimer and he's really playing the melody along with, you know, chordal ideas the whole time, like that's my favorite. And one of the reasons that's my favorite thing to do is that we listen to each other and we're like we'll do harmonic things around each other, like we'll do octave things around each other.
Yeah.
And the kinds of variations that I do will be, I think, way more subtle in some ways, and same for you probably too.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of harmonic ambiguity to it, and there's a reason that's why that's what we do the most, and it's because I think it's the most unique thing that we do, and it's the thing that I just get the best vibe from when we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting to hear two instruments interpret a tune in the way that is idiomatic to those instruments and the players, who are also instruments. And then to hear the, sometimes
interplay.
Sometimes it's like an argument, like sometimes it's like a fight, sometimes it's the opposite. Whatever the opposite, whatever metaphor you want to use, and it's either way, it's really exciting. I mean, it's like what you were saying, Rob, about like guitar choices, and it's like, what's going on here? Is it like parallel play, know, or is it like, is there sort of like a how much communication, and then what do you do with the things that are being communicated? Like, how much do you change? Yeah, and I enjoy I can tell that you two think a lot about what the other is playing, and and that affects what you're doing.
No doubt.
And it's similar when Rob plays mandolin and we do a duet that's just mandolin and fiddle, which most of the time will be Rob playing a cross-tuned mandolin and I'll be playing cross-tuned fiddle. I don't guess we're not going to do that tonight, but
yeah.
And sometimes we do standard. But anyway, it's a similar kind of idea where it's just like, the kinds of variations that you would do need to be tighter. They need to like be something that the other person that's going to work with, or you're expecting the other person to do. Whereas, if somebody's just playing chords on guitar or piano or something else like that, like there's just so much more freedom. And so every once in a while, it's nice to have that freedom and kind of feel like I can really do whatever I want on the fiddle. And but mostly it's so much more interactive to kind of like listen to each other.
And I would imagine, if you're listening, I'd imagine if you're listening to like really good Irish music, doesn't have many chordal instruments or any chordal instruments in it, that part of the thrill of it is the sort of organic and completely wild notes that intertwine with each other and are tight but not
exact.
Not perfectly synchronized. Or that you have these moments that it comes out and comes right back, and it's tight and loose at the same time. And I know that Jason plays a lot of that music, and I used to, and I've played enough in sessions to experience that thrill, and I think that's certainly part of what makes playing mandolin and dulcimer have that thrill for me is doubling the melody, but doubling an idea of what the melodies could be. The
$20,000 word that I've heard for that, and I call it $20,000 because that's how much money I'm still in debt for my music theory degree, is heterophony. The idea of two voices in whatever instrument interpreting the same melody but having different pathways.
Wow.
Whether it's about the skill or the idea of what the tune is, or the limitations of the instrument. I agree
Jason,
that it's so exciting.
We're definitely in a heterophonous relationship then.
Yeah. I would say
it's fully committed.
Yeah, and I really mean it. Like I need heterophonous relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to go on record.
It's one of my favorite hetero things, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of the hetero things, it's got to be near the top.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish that's what heteronormativity was about.
I think heteronormativity would be worse than what you're thinking it is. It's when you have to play exactly the same notes together all the time. That would be awful. Anyway.
All right. Maybe before we got one more tune, and then we can do a little business where people go to like buy your albums and things like that, and then we'll finish with a tune, and then we'll include a bonus track for everyone because it's Christmas. It's not just Christmas for the Patreon subscribers. But before we do that, let's like do a little bit of Christmas talk. You're both parents, and it sounds like you both grew up with Christmas, and like you're both still doing Christmas. And I'm a parent, and I had Christmas happen to me, and I'm making Christmas happen to my kids and trying to figure out what that's going to look like. And I guess I'm curious, did you have what were like Christmas traditions for you that you've decided like these ones I'm going to pass on, despite maybe Christmas meaning something different to you now than it did then, if it does? Yeah. I'm curious if you have any perspective on that, especially in terms of like presenting Christmas to new beings.
Oh, so you're actually looking for advice, Cameron.
Yeah, this is the podcast within the podcast, because I always ask people who have musical kids, how do I make my kids not hate music? And so this is like the Christmas edition of that.
That's great. Well, I mean, I do think that in terms of, this is a very general statement, but when I'm a teacher, like Jason and I both teach. We both do different things, but we both do some teaching in the classroom. Yeah. And it's easiest with people that have Christmas in their lives as part of their family traditions. It's easy to talk about what folk traditions and folk music are in various parts of the world by talking just about Christmas and saying, like, around that time of year, how you sing a song and somebody else knows the words, and doesn't matter if they're 90 years old or 6, they can sing together. Yeah. That's how human beings have been communicating for 15,000 years. And only recently is it not really the case. Right. So that's my perspective on it, is that it's a folk holiday, and it's got all the trappings of all folk holidays. It's got some completely offensive stuff in it and some gold in it. And, find a folk tradition where that's not the case. Sure. And I'm saying that because I, like, my son and one of Jason's sons is taking piano with the same piano teacher. Mm-hmm. When it hits October, this woman, Yasna, she's like, all right, it's time to start working on your Christmas tunes, kid. That's your job, Yeah. Your job is to be able to accompany these otherwise illiterate musical people in the world that only know Christmas tunes. So we all need to be able to sing together, and so you got to start working on that in October. So for me, it's also like one of the only times that non-musicians are all going to get to sing and play and travel around together and go door to door. Yeah. So I challenge you, Cameron, to do everything you can to go door to door and sing to people. Or at least just go sing for other people with your family.
That's a great point, because, like, especially as outside of church, like, which is like more and more people are not participating in that. Non-musicians don't have places to go do music together, communal
and they
singing.
Always love it when they do.
Yeah. That's a great point. Like Christmas is like one of the last bastions of like folk music happening with like actual folk music, like everyone doing it. Yeah. Well, not everyone, obviously, but a lot of people. It's ubiquitous enough. Yeah. That's really cool. I'll think about that. I was raised in like a very religious expression of Christmas, along with all of the folk and capitalist expressions of Christmas, and it's been something I've been thinking about, because it's like when I'm doing Christmas with my kids, it's like I don't think we're gonna read the nativity story from the Bible
Yeah.
because that's what I grew up with, like every
me too.
year on Christmas Eve with Grandma. You know, it's like, but what am I going to do with them? Because I don't want to get rid of it because it's, you know, how much high context culture do I get to have? I should hold on to as much as I can stomach.
Yeah.
And I think I have a little bit more room in my heart for Christmas than some of the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a ton to add to what Rob said, but you know, like my son, the same son who takes piano, actually, he's 8. He also plays violin, and he loves piano, but he does not love violin. But he loves to play Christmas carols on his violin, and he can like pick it up, and he never starts the tune on the same note, so it's always a different key that he plays it in. But his ears super good, and he doesn't matter. He just plays it, and he can play like 10 of them, in one go. So it's I think it's like these basic fiddle tunes, basically, and they're so accessible, and when you sing them with other people, it's like such a joyful experience, like singing with other people always is. So yeah, I mean, I grew up Quaker, but me
too. Did we talk about this?
I don't think we really talked about it, but I remembered that you said you were Quaker. So
yeah.
So a moment ago, I was like, wait a minute, didn't Cameron say he was Quaker? Like, how come his parents pushed religious Christmas?
Well, that's
so
the thing. We were evangelical Friends, which is like what I guess most Quakers in the world are now.
Right.
They're mostly in like Kenya and Uganda and Newburgh, Oregon. And they like have like pastors and stuff. It's just like mainline Protestant church with a little bit of kind of Quakerism that's in it. That's sort of rapidly dying out.
I see.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, I grew up much more old school Quaker or hippie Quaker or whatever it was. Like, just no sort of master of ceremonies. Lots of singing, lots of silence, and then people like speaking from the heart when it moved them. That said, like we always celebrated Christmas. Like even in the Quaker, I remember like at least one year in our Quaker meeting, me and other kids like acting out the nativity scene and things like that. So it's a piece of it, of course, but
interesting.
The commercialism is a little hard to take, but that's our world.
Yeah. I don't necessarily. I mean, I like some of it. I don't know. This is a funny example. We're gonna at some point watch the Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh,
but that's
good,
about. But it's about commercialism,
right?
And so is the Christmas Story. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
like that movie. I mean, the
of
Christmas
course, yeah,
Story. It's like the perfect American story. It's just like hilariously materialistic. But like our friend, the place that we play often, called Hendershot's in Athens. They take that Charlie Brown album and they play it with a trio Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday night, and they do that, and like all the kids in Athens that they come in, they bring their sleeping bags and they sit down, awesome. They have eggnog and drink coffee. And I asked my kids the other day, this way it speaks to this. I asked my kids the other day, like, hey, I know that COVID was last year and we couldn't do the thing. I mean, like in terms of we weren't allowed to go into the bar. But this year you're vaccinated and there's gonna be masks and there's gonna be vaccines and everything. Would you want to go to see Seth and the band, the Good Grief Trio, play? And also they had the full chorus they had the whole chorus of people singing the songs, right? Yeah, and it's just in this old club.
It's so good. We all go. It's every year.
And like it's just like warm and all that. But I said, do you want to go? And my son who could easily say no, or I didn't know what he was going to say. He's like, is it really something for me to answer? And I was like, yeah, it's up to you. And he's like, it's a tradition. Like he was kind of like, didn't that what you do? Yeah. And so I feel like, the more things you can have around any holiday, but especially Christmas and Thanksgiving and some other ones, like where it's people getting together and having traditions, that's great. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for the advice.
We're gonna do the Christmas get up in the cool show every year now.
Yeah, that'll be a tradition.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, speaking of that, we were trying to do this last year, and we weren't able to make it happen for a mixture of me coming up with the idea too late, because I did a Christmas episode the year before with the Hawkinson sisters, and I was like, I should do that again, but it occurred to me way too late. And you two, I hope you feel very flattered. You were I basically made a vow flattered. As soon as I got my vaccine. I was just like, I'm not doing another remote episode. Right. Like, it is not worth it. And then I was like, unless Hog-Eyed Man is willing to do a Christmas episode with me, I will spend the time essentially making a holiday EP with you two. So this weekend, I guess.
Well, okay. I mean, just to be clear, like we've turned down some streaming concerts. We were like, we're not doing another streaming Hog-Eyed Man thing again, unless Cameron gets back to us and invites us to be on the holiday episode.
Well, let's play another tune. What's up next?
Let's see. You want to do the Bring a Torch, Jeanette, Isabella, and Ice and Monday's Christmas Eve?
I was wondering. Okay, hold on. Is it?
Yep.
Have I been saying it wrong this whole time?
Probably.
I've been saying Isham.
No,
it's Isam.
It's Isam.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is that just how people from his region say that name, or is that the only way that name is pronounced? And he's the only one that I knew.
I've only heard Isam from there.
You've heard Isam before too?
I've only heard Isam from that region.
Isam.
Okay. I don't know,
but I know a kid named Isham that lives in Athens.
Right. So yeah, it's not the only way those letters can be pronounced.
Of course.
But yeah, Bruce Green says if you're going to play his music, you may as well say his name right. And he taught me long ago how to say the name right.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
The Christmas Eve tune, I've never heard that before, and it's gorgeous.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's great.
I love that.
Oh, it's great. Those recordings are incredible. He's such a powerful fiddle player. You know,
we've talked about him so many times, Rob and I. It's like, he's one of our muses for sure.
Bruce Green or Isam?
Isam. Yeah. I mean, Bruce.
Obviously, Bruce
is my North Star, but Isam is definitely one of our main sources. And
it's like if John Henry Woodcut playing the fiddle. Muhammad Ali.
I mean, people rag on Isam Monday and Hiram Stamper, and they just don't get it. It's
they're my two favorites.
What Rob said this one time, but because Isam Monday has some really powerful playing, and Hiram Stamper was just too old by the time he was recorded. But for them, for John Sawyer, for all of them, what's paramount is the rhythm. And so the tempo that they set is so that they can still do the same kind of rhythmic thing that they've always wanted to do at whatever speed they play the tune.
Yeah. Why do people rag on Isam Monday?
I don't know these people, but please don't introduce them to me.
Yeah, that's a thing. And Hiram Stamper too.
Definitely Hiram Stamper. It's just the more. I think part of it's just the more foreign the music sounds to modern aesthetics. The more to criticize maybe or to not understand.
I'm trying to figure out on which side of old time pretension is this coming from? Is this the too cool for school old time, or is this the or on the other side maybe?
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, every time I've it's over now because I don't think I'll ever hear another Hiram or Isam that I haven't yet heard. But every time I've rediscovered them, I'm just like, oh man, this is so great. I really wish there was a treasure trove somewhere, and I don't know. There probably is.
I don't know. Yeah, the first tune we recorded together was an Isam Monday tune, Apple Blossom. And so a lot of times when we record his tunes, we play them down in B also, which is where we should do this now, Cameron.
Great. Did he tune? Okay, when you say down in B, I'm assuming you mean a down-tuned. Yeah. Is it are we playing a C tune?
A D tune.
A D tune tuned down.
Yeah,
all the like Darley Folks. Darley Folks is always like playing
some of those.
too.
Yeah, he doesn't go to quite as not quite as low, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, there's not consensus about Darley Folks in that way. Like, there's just I think there's less consensus about whether he's actually playing in C versus like D tuned down to C.
Interesting. Okay.
But anyway, for Isa Monday, he plays a lot of tunes just down in the key of D tunes down in the key of B, or A tunes down in the key of F or G or F sharp, somewhere around there.
Great. Okay, I'll figure out what I want to do on my end in order to participate in that, I guess. I'll figure something out.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah. So we'll do that old French carol, Bring a Torch, Jeanette, Isabella, which is actually my mom's favorite Christmas carol, which is one of the reasons I wanted to play that.
Also a deeper cut Christmas carol.
Yep.
I don't know what that carol's supposed to be about. Like, who's Jeanette, Isabella, and why does she have a torch?
Yeah, I don't remember the story. I've heard it sung before. It's definitely in the like nativity canon. It's something about the birth of Jesus.
Oh, so it's like Bible fan fiction.
I think so. Fan fiction. What?
Yeah. Because like Jeanette Isabella.
It's like from the 1700s or something, though.
Well, I'm saying like Jeanette.
Okay.
There wouldn't be someone named Jeanette Isabella in like Jerusalem or Nazareth, I guess.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's like a French, the Frenchest name I've ever heard.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We'll have to Wikipedia after we're done. And see what the story is on it.
Yeah, I think
so.
Like the cherry tree carol. It's like I don't think they had cherry trees. That's the one. I don't think we're not doing that one today. That's the one where Joseph like slut shames the Virgin Mary because he assumes that it wasn't God who did it, and then basically like God magically lowers down the bough of a cherry tree so that she can have a cherry, and like to put Joseph in his place or something. There's some sort of like paternity test drama involved, and they made a carol out of it. It's crazy. I love the imagination that goes into this stuff.
There's a whole other book. It's in like some early Renaissance. I mean, it's well known to Catholics from the 14, 15, 16, 1700s. But the Golden Legend, have you heard about that?
No.
So the Golden Legend is kind of like the backstory of Joseph's family. And it's on the walls of like Giotto's cathedral in Rome. And like it's as much of the iconography of medieval Renaissance art as like the Gospels for some churches. And it's like not the Bible, it's just the Golden Legend. Yeah. And it was written quite a bit later. It would be more likely to have somebody like Jeanette Isabella in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, arguably it's all fan fiction, the Bible included. But like, yeah. Depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's.
All right.
Let's
just a little update from Wikipedia. Yeah. It says Jeanette and Isabella in the song title are two female farmhands who found the baby Jesus and his mother in a stable. Excited by this discovery, they run to the nearby village to tell the inhabitants, who rush to see the new arrivals. I'm sure there's a little bit more to it, but I think it confirms your theory, Cameron.
Yeah, that's some little drummer boy level stuff. Great.
Yeah. All right. Should we play it?
Yeah. Which what tuning are you in for Bring a Torch, Jeanette, Isabella, and Christmas Eve, Rob? How do you play in B?
I played B. Let me think. I guess I just would have been B, F, B. B, F sharp, B.
B, F sharp, B. Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Are you capoed up, or you just tune all the way?
It's tuned way down.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
That's why he needs the
lovely.
higher gauge strings.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty low. Yeah, I think that was BFB. Yeah.
Well, before we go, we'll do one more tune.
Mm-hmm.
And then before that, where do people go to keep up to date with musical stuff that will happen in the future? Where do people buy your albums? You have 3 Hog-Eyed Man albums now, right?
No, actually, we have 4 Hog-Eyed Man albums and a 5th in the can.
Amazing.
So
great.
We have the first 3 that we did, by ourselves, like a lot. Actually, the first 4 that we did by ourselves. The 4th one having some help from Rob's old bandmate, and we did those in a studio in town, and some of them like right here in this room. And then the 4th one came out on Old Time Tiki Parlor's label. So
of course,
David Bragger, distributes that for us. And then we just went out in June, kind of like in that eye of the COVID storm where we were all vaccinated.
It was such a great month.
Yeah.
June and the first half of July were just like, so great.
I know. It was amazing. All these stars aligned. Like we had our vaccines. I was going to be out in California for family reasons. Rob's kids were away at camp, sleepaway camp for a couple weeks. So Rob flew out to LA too. Our friends Maxine and Brendan came down from the Bay Area. And we all slept at David Bragger's house along with his family and his kids. And Susan Platts came over every night, and it was like olden times.
That sounds great.
With playing music at night and recording during the day. So we recorded a whole new album out there. It was super fun and excited about that.
Yeah.
And, won't come out till sometime in the next year. But so the 4th CD, if people still, I know Cameron doesn't know what a CD is, but
it's true.
For other folks, this is the 4th one. Actually has Snowbird on it that we played tonight. And so that you can get from David Bragger at Old Time Tiki Parlor.
I like that you seem to have kept the art direction, kind of theme in that, even though it's a Tiki Parlor one, right?
Yeah.
It's got the same iconography and color kind of.
Yeah. So, and that, long story short, people that know about it would know about it already, or would look it up, or who knows. It's but there's the book series Foxfire. You know that series?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's based on Foxfire's design.
The font, yeah. And
yeah,
the design.
great.
And the design. So the original covers and colors were chosen that way. And the woman that helped us with the first 3, she's an incredible artist in town, Lou Craigle. And she's done a lot of work with all the Athens bands from around here for many decades. And she was passionate about getting it right for our first 3 records, and just making sure the fonts were exactly the same size relative to the shape. So they all work together as a series of books. And Howard Raines, who we love playing with, and just as a person too, him and Trisha, play together. And Howard is an incredible artist, obviously, and he was excited about what we were doing and didn't want to mess with our aesthetic.
Yeah.
But David was like, you guys should work together and you'll come up with something cool. And so, you have to look at it to see. But Howard did a great job of making it unique and also being faithful to the original idea.
But it has a whole booklet,
It's a book, big book.
Illustrations and stuff. Mm-hmm. But those are all on Bandcamp too. So you can get them digitally on Bandcamp. Yeah. And then we have a website, hogeyedman.com, which isn't as updated as frequently as it used to be.
Yeah.
But now that we're doing some stuff again, maybe we'll get back to that. But it has our Tune Journeys page on it.
Such a great resource. It's so great.
Cool.
I love that you do that.
Yeah, we'll do some more. Should do some more of those.
Yeah. I'm about ready for that.
Yeah.
But it's basically it's like the liner notes that you would put around a tune, but a little bit extended, and also has alternative takes and sort of the source recordings that we were influenced by and things like that on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate your approach to you have a really great balance as a band of like creating something new and exciting and also being nerds and having it be edutaining, but not in a like, sugar with your medicine kind of way, but in a, like it both equally valid and happening concurrently, and I really appreciate that.
So can we use a quote? It would be Hog-Eyed Man, edutaining heterophony. And Cameron
go ahead
DeWhitt.
and put that on the fifth album.
Heterophoners.
We'll put that on our next record with your name next to it.
And I'll just say, if you don't mind, Cameron, I'll just say, because I just remembered, we did a live show a couple months ago. That was a really amazing live show. We hadn't, partly because we hadn't really done one in a long time, at an underground speakeasy, and it was recorded not with like super great gear or anything, but it actually came out really nice. And so it's about a 45-minute show that we're gonna put up on our Bandcamp page probably really soon. We're basically got it ready to go.
We'll send it to you ahead of time, Cameron.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah.
And that gives you a chance to kind of hear, like, someone who hasn't seen us play before, sort of what the whole show sort of feels like when we do a live show.
I still haven't seen you two play before, so
yeah.
that would be great. Except for here.
Right.
Yeah, and your videos that you post.
Yeah, we'd love to come out to Portland. Or
it'd be fun.
I wish you would.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We both, I guess, you played up there too, I think, maybe?
I've never played in Portland. Mm-mm.
Yeah, we've been to the West Coast to play music with other groups, but only been to California together to play with Hog-Eyed Man. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Jason and Rob, thanks so much for doing this and putting in that extra work that I, used to have to ask my podcast guests to do during the pandemic of, because at a festival, you just like sit down and like we chat a little bit and then we start playing, but you had to do all your own sound checking and all of that stuff. So I appreciate the effort, and
thank you.
I'm excited to jam with you.
It was fun to do.
Yeah. So
should we do the Darley Folks tune next, and then you can put Deck the Halls as your bonus?
Oh, which one of these is the Darley Folks one?
The Snowstorm.
The snow. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's
in C.
So this is a C tune.
Yeah.
That maybe he's playing in D shapes. Maybe.
Maybe. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my, but I've been wrong before about stuff like this for sure. To my ears, he is playing this out of C shapes.
Okay, so like actually tuned up.
Actually, just in standard tuning.
Yeah. Tuned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that Bruce Green disagreed with me, which means that I'm probably wrong. But when I played it for him out of the C shapes, I felt like he was like, "Oh, okay, maybe."
Yeah.
So it's and in general, like I said before, like I think there's less consensus where Darley Folks is playing this, because he certainly was able to play out of more challenging keys in standard tuning.
Sure.
And so the finger shapes were no problem for him. But this is a fun tune. Go back, you should go and listen to the original of this.
Yeah.
Because, there's no accompaniment with it. And Rob, this is one where like the guitar I feel like is really essential. I mean, I like the original with its kind of more free form. And if you listen to any Darley Folks recording, it's got that like,
it's like quarter notes. Yeah. It's so cool. I tried to do that when I play his tunes, and I can't. Sorry.
I know your Achilles tendons just wear out too soon. But he's got all those weird long notes that he puts into tunes, and just the style that I can't figure out where it came from. It's not like any of his musical neighbors. But this is a fun tune, and when Rob figured out how to play guitar on it, it just became regularized in a really neat way, and sort of just sounds like a blues tune, and to some degree.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait.
Yep. Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks again, and Merry Christmas.
You too, Cameron.
Merry
Have a good one.
Christmas.
Good to see you.
That sounds good. You wore that phrase out. That worked perfect.
You wore it out, or you wore it well?
You wore it well. Yeah.
Both.
You might, if you wore it out, I guess you're not going to do Christmas anymore.
Buy Hog-Eyed Man's albums at hogeyedman.bandcamp.com and visit their website hogeyedman.com to check out their tune journeys and watch their videos. You can find links for that and everything I'm about to mention in the show notes on your podcast app. You can support Get Up in the Cool by sharing the show with a friend or sharing and liking the video posts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And help fund this podcast by signing up at patreon.com/getupinthecool. You can order a mask, t-shirt, sticker, bag, or phone case at Get Up in the Cool's merch store. Pretty good Christmas presents, I think. Visit pitchforkbanjo.com for my instructional clawhammer banjo series or to schedule a lesson with me. Check out my other podcast, Think Outside the Box Set. It's available in all the same places as Get Up in the Cool. We just did a Christmas episode for that one where I got wine drunk and my co-host and I reviewed Justin Bieber's album Under the Mistletoe, which is one of the strangest holiday albums I've ever heard. Go check that out wherever you get podcasts. And again, everything I just mentioned is linked in the show notes for this episode in your podcast app. That's all for now, friends. Thanks for listening. Come back same time next week to Get Up in the Cool, and Merry Christmas.